Natalie.
It's good to see you. And it's
You.
good to have this time with you.
Yes, it is really nice. Thank you.
So, I want to first welcome you to our team because this is a big, brand new role for you. And really, I have to just say that the entire team is very excited to have you on board. And I'm really happy to be kind of flipping the script here with you and giving you the podcast for this session and you get to interview me. So I would love for you to just tell people who you are, what you feel you want to communicate, and then we can start.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the warm welcome. It's an incredible team to be a part of. I came organically and enthusiastically to Coach Academy, having graduated from the Life and Wellness program. And so that brings me here. And it feels like an honor to take over the hosting seat in the
Yeah.
podcast
Yeah.
today. All right, so I'm going to start our conversation off today with a huge congratulations. Earlier this week, you officially graduated from Harvard University with a master's in psychology, a journey you began in 2019. That is
Hmm.
an incredible milestone.
Yeah, it actually doesn't even feel kind of real. It hasn't really sunk in yet. I've been deeply embedded in my work to complete the degree in the last 4 weeks now. And with my day job, I really have been working on this prototype and capstone for the last year, but had to leave a lot of it for the last month. So I really took a deep dive, went undercover. Nobody was allowed to talk to me. And and I have to say that it's really something that I'm proud of because of the amount of commitment it took and dedication, and also just what it brought our community. It's enriched, the lives of our students and our curriculum. The team has been on this journey with me, really. So it's just been a kind of a theme of the last years that I felt so supported in. So yeah, it's a big one.
It is a big one. And we'll explore a little bit later in the conversation all the benefits to the community.
Hmm.
Definitely be coming back to that. But let's start with what pulled you to the program in the first place. And if you feel like exploring it, how has it shaped you personally and then a bit professionally?
Yeah, well, I was looking to continue my education. At the time, was thinking of a local university. I live in Montreal, so I was thinking McGill is a very, well-known university. And then I thought about what do I want to achieve with this commitment of time and resources, my brain, really a lot of who I am as a professional has been taken up by this path that I chose. And I chose Harvard obviously because of the distinction of the degree, like the distinguished, Ivy League school, uh, the international credibility as well is very appealing, knowing that at the time we weren't expanding, but now with the foresight, back then to say like, oh, we might expand the business one day. And here we are. We're in the US now with our usacoachacademy.com and all our efforts to expand our marketplace. So it's actually, a lot of reasons, and also just, can I do this? Will I get in, kind of thing, and will I be able to pursue this degree? And so, one step at a time, like when they say like you don't climb the mountain in a day, you really do take one step at a time. I don't know that I had this end point in mind. I was always on a journey of just self-development, enriching myself and the community as I went with knowledge, right? With grounded, evidence-based approaches to coaching is what my entire ambition was, that, right? And then when I started, one of the first courses you have to take 3 courses as an adult student. You have to take 3 courses, and you have to have like a B plus average or more to get into the master's program. Once you do that, then you have to be consistently achieving a B plus or more to stay in the program. One of the first courses was a seminar program. And the seminar was kind of this glimpse into what would your thesis or your capstone be at the end of your program. And so that led me down a path of researching, at first, leader as coach, which led to educator as coach. And this entire vision that I had that came alive with, every teacher being a coach, different than what the research had shown, which is teachers being coached. There were a lot of great benefits and a lot of, benefits to the school, to the teacher, and to the kids. But the teacher being the coach in the classroom was something that wasn't really explored clearly in my mind. I couldn't really find a case study that, had the intention of making a teacher a certified coach. And I thought, well, if all teachers were certified as coaches as part of their credentialing, then every child would have the model of a coach in the classroom, like starting from elementary, kindergarten, all the way up. And that would be the most powerful example of healthy communication styles, well-being, this practice of listening and presence and acknowledgments and all the things we learn as coaches would be modeled daily in the classroom. So I got really excited about that.
Yeah, feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really fueled my ambition to continue. And it was a big part of my studies. I ran a pilot program with 8 educators across Canada. Like, they were all levels of leadership in private and public schools. And it went really well. And then I did some work in other schools, like small projects. I did a pilot program for an I Am Confident, sort of titled I Am Confident workshop in schools for elementary kids. And then I had the great fortune of landing a contract with an international school that we've been working with for the last year and a bit now, putting all of their educators and leadership through the Leader as Coach program. And this is where I've been able to really see the impact of the coach approach from a leadership perspective. It wasn't my original vision of every teacher becoming a certified coach, although they are actually working towards that. And it's just been such an incredible journey. And in the meantime, the challenges of bringing coach, like that idea, to the public school system, when you talk about, budgets, the goals of the system don't match the coach certification idea. It would be, lobbying the teachers' colleges. Like, it's a huge piece, right? And I felt like for now, I needed to shift to where I had the most control and what I could really make a difference in, which was the leadership idea around coaching. Every leader become a coach. And so my prototype and my capstone shifted to that team and group model of coaching, but it's still all tied in because, team, group, teacher, leader, I think it's all the same.
Yeah, it's a wonderful transition and process to hear you express. And you said something about coming alive when you found this conversation. You can really see it in you as you describe what you've been exploring.
Yeah, I find, look, the educational system in North America, I can only speak to what I know, so Canada specifically, is just, it needs so much attention. It needs so much love and care and attention and shift, And I know because my son went through a very difficult journey in his education. And it's funny that I really thought that experience with my son, advocating for him, changing schools like 9 times, like really trying to find the right fit for him, that I felt was part of why this project resonated so much for me. But then I actually was coached, which is really interesting because as I was telling the story, the coach was saying, "What's this really about?" And I'd be like, "Well, no, it's about my son." And what's that really about? They just kept asking me deeper questions to go deeper and deeper. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? It's actually about my own experience as a child in school. Feeling alienated, feeling disconnected, feeling like less than and also labeled in the schooling system.
Mm.
The power of the teacher to make or break your confidence was
Mm.
scary for me
Mhm.
as a child. So it actually came really clear to me that it was, yes, it was my child's journey, but it was also my personal journey that I realized it's so this the teachers and the system has so much power
Mm.
to shape little people
Mm.
who are the future of our country,
Mhm.
our, the population.
Mhm.
And so that became very clear to me, which again is the power of coaching, right? I didn't
Yeah.
really actually connect to that at first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really is a powerful example of coaching, right? To
Yeah,
connect
and a
to them.
coach just staying present enough to be curious enough to go, okay, I hear you, but what else?
Yeah.
And that simple curiosity to go deeper than what's presented really helped me understand the connection I needed to make to that journey. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, what a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing that, the process of connection to it, right?
Hmm.
So I think
Hmm.
it's helpful to hear how coaching brought you even further into your studies and, this last few years with Harvard. Uh, so in the next few weeks, commencement will be happening.
Yeah. Okay. This is fun.
And I would love to hear you reflect on what that milestone means to you and, what that commencement might look like.
Well, it's funny. I had to pitch my prototype and sort of my whole capstone project on Monday night,
Yeah.
and that was the final step. And right after that, which I don't know was coincidence or planned, but I get the email that says that my cap and gown have shipped for commencement. I was like, oh, that's so fun. So yeah, I'm traveling to Boston in to Harvard Square in a few weeks. It's May 28th and 29th.
Mhm.
And what I love about this experience, which I hadn't really planned on and thought through, but I get to go and experience this really rich and tradition like ceremony of yeah, it's just I get to do the morning exercise at 6 a.m. with the professors. I imagine walking in like the early smog. I don't know what it is, the early
Yeah.
fog of the morning, and and the professor reading from a book. Like it's this apparently traditional sort of walk through the yards, and there's a reception for family. There's a broadcast of the commencement ceremony on big screens and also live. Like you can watch live on a whatever feed, and they live stream it. And it's just, yeah, it sounds like it's an experience. It's not just the one event. And yeah, and I had to do this thing where you have to they want to know how to phonetically pronounce your name when they call you on stage. So they send you this app and you have to write it out.
Okay.
And my name, everybody calls me Nathalie Blais. So I had to say Natalie, no H, and then Blay, Blay. So then it pretends to announce your name.
Really?
And so I'm sitting on my computer on the couch and I'm doing this and I'm saying, hear your name. So I press, the thing and it says, next, we're announcing Nathalie Blais. And I was like, oh, I got shivers.
Yeah.
And my kids were sitting on the couch with me. They're like, wow, that was really cool.
That
So it
is
was as if they were calling you to stage.
so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a process. And I actually had never in the entire journey thought about this last kind of phase of what would it be like to actually get to the end of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here you are hearing your name called,
Yeah.
that practice call out, and soon the real
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
Have you thought about what it might feel like when they, officially call your name out on the
Oh,
day
I'm
of?
sure I'll trip on my gown, fall flat
Yeah.
on my face. Like that would be typical me. So I have no high expectations of being graceful or dignified. I just want to get up there and get down.
Great. That's great. Are you going to celebrate in any other way or mark the occasion?
I believe it or not, I mean, I have my family coming, my parents, which I'm super proud. Like one of the things that kind of nagged behind my, while I was doing the work and over the years, there were moments where I paused and I'd be like, oh my God, I really hope my dad is alive for this. Well, because he's aging, right? And he's 83 now. And so you start to think about those things. And he had a really bad ski accident in 2022 where he ended up with 18 staples in his head. And I thought, okay, is he going to make the ceremony? That's all I could think. Mostly because I would love for my parents to witness
Yeah.
that. And so my parents will be there, my kids, my partner in life, and friends. Some of my friends are traveling there, and also some of the team. So, and I get to meet up with the people I've been in the class with for the last year because the capstone is a two semester program. So I get to meet up with some people from the course, and it's going to be a great 2 days.
That's an incredible way to celebrate. And I think such a testament to the community that you have built around you to have so many people there, to cheer you
Yeah,
on.
and I have had so many people in the community cheering me on every step of the way, and like in ways that are so I want to say unnecessary because it's so generous. Um, it's thoughtful, and yeah, generous is the word, because I don't know, like I feel like there's so many people in our community who have just been like watching this happen and wanting so much to celebrate every little achievement, and they show their support by enrolling in the courses and the specializations that have come up from this, the degree that I've engaged in for the last year. So,
Yes, yes. And that's such a lovely, the generosity of the community and then the way your studies have, fostered this community. It's a nice segue to talk about, something you've been quietly building alongside your studies. So we have an upcoming team and group coaching course at Coach Academy.
mhm.
And I wonder if you want to expand on how that came from your capstone project.
Yeah, team and group coaching is a trend that it's probably the most significant trend in coaching right now, increasing, corporate organizations. They're all turning to a more inclusive, more engaging style of leadership and wondering, how do I do this? Like, how do I keep people? Because loyalty is a big piece, especially after the Great Resignation and COVID. People want to feel more engaged at work, contributing value. They want to feel heard and seen. They want to feel like they're a part of something, not just clocking in and out every day, right? And so I felt like this could be the greatest impact I could have is to focus the last year on developing a program for our students who have passed through our programs, and for others, coaches out there who want to specialize, to just go into the research and really dig into what are the trends, what do we know about how systems work, how groups work and collectives work together, what are the most important elements in group engagement, and also just bringing out the best in groups.
Mm,
The collective um, it's an interesting, dynamic, system that works together. And it's not, I don't think it's just intuitive. I think we have to have skill and strategy to work when we bring people together, especially when we want to bring people together in in what's called brave spaces, which is more than safety. It's the opportunity to object, to challenge,
mm,
to critique in a safe way,
mm.
feeling like you can be heard and not penalized, right? And also, because we know that in that challenge comes innovation,
Yeah.
opportunity, possibilities. And so I wanted to give the coaches that are willing, wanting to specialize in group and team, the skills and strategies that are founded in the research and what we know about, how people come together. And it's been so interesting. I can honestly say, like, I've really enjoyed the work. I've enjoyed putting the modules together. I've used AI technology in some really fun ways to enhance the learning. And we've applied all of the strategies that we know work so well in our community for adult learning and just the way the classrooms are designed. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to launch the first pilot coming up May, I think it's 22nd, I'm not sure, but it's sold out. I mean, we really, with very little effort, kind of put the idea out there and got a lot of support. In fact, I remember the first time I mentioned it in one class, I was facilitating. There were about 12 people. I think 10 of them signed up in one day when I just mentioned it. They're like, "When? Where? How do we do this?"
Yeah.
And that's just a show to like it just shows how trending it is now and how important it is and how people feel they lack skill in facilitating groups and teams.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's great. It's going to be fun, and then we opened up a second date because it was sold out so quickly. So we have another one starting in October, and it's already starting to get people in there. And yeah, I really look forward to just as with all the courses we offer, they get better over time because we learn, we get feedback, we pivot. So I'm really looking forward to the second and third iteration.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
I can feel your excitement. I was going to say, what do you think drew people to the class in addition to your passion about it? Because I think it really translates.
I have time containing my passion. I think maybe that's one of the things that, I remember. I often tell people this story because I think it's funny. The first on-site program I ever ran in Mississauga, Ontario. I had 15 people in a room, and I don't know, there was like, we do introductions and stuff on the first day. And then one of the classmates or members or peers, whatever, said, Natalie, I just want to say you're like the worst salesperson I've ever met. And I was like, well, wait a minute. And I was like, well, what about this room is full? Like, I spoke to each one of you. What are you talking about? And they're like, no, you're passionate, but you suck at sales.
Yeah.
I really, when I hired Wendy, who was our first admissions coach, who you have the pleasure of knowing.
Hmm.
She, I said to her, I can't teach you how to sell because I don't know how, but I can tell you how to, speak from the heart. And that is what you need to do is speak from your heart and you'll be fine. And she did. And that was because she didn't have a sales background either. Like I think storytelling, connection to people, hearing, like being present with people. I think that is, I love what Danielle Pink says, to sell is human. I think being human with people as opposed to trying to sell, it was never my style. So I'm really proud of the fact that our admissions team just is all about connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, having been through some training with Wendy and the rest of the team, the message that is consistent is sell from your heart.
Yeah,
So that original message, that seed you planted,
yeah,
continues to grow into
yeah,
today.
yeah. And I mean, I didn't do so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a
I
doing
learned a
okay.
few tricks along the way, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to team and group coaching, you've alluded to some other of courses that have been influenced by your research at
Mhm.
Harvard. Do you want to speak to any of those, other offerings?
Yeah, early on, I was looking for some electives to take, and I ended up in the Harvard Divinity School,
Okay.
which I had the great pleasure of being taught for two courses by Professor Chris Berlin,
Mm.
who really just inspired me to bring the work of compassion and mindfulness to coaching. Like how can coaches benefit from learning the work and skill and strategy for compassion and coaching?
Mm.
And so that gave me the idea to do a pilot. I actually was just talking to some students about the work, that the learning,
Mhm.
and one of them said, "Can you start a course on that? Like, can you do a workshop?" And I thought, "Oh, interesting. I've never really thought of that."
Yeah.
So So then and I had done so much research in those programs because I had to write papers after paper after paper. So I had a lot of exposure and insight, and I thought, I can develop something that's applicable to coaching and help to equip coaches with more skill around, how to create safe spaces for reflection with a compassionate angle.
Hmm.
And knowing that, compassion is very close to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? We need compassion and empathy to reach for inclusion, to reach for equity, to reach for those, for those compassionate spaces that we can all meet at the table, right?
Hmm.
And and so it's a challenging course. I know it is because it asks us to face some of our deepest biases, um, convictions, labels, stereotypes. It brings it all up to the surface.
Hmm.
And I know that it challenges people a little, but I think that's what it's all about. Because if you're not challenged, you're not changed, right? So this idea of I really love how that course has come together over the last years, a couple of years now. We're in our probably fourth or fifth run of it. And I just adore the conversations and the community that's built around it and the struggle. Like people are very open with the struggle.
Hmm.
It requires quiet mind, mindfulness. It requires a lot of reflection. There's some great challenging material in there that can like stir things up a bit. So yeah, and then after that, I think it was motivation was the next one, which is it's coaching's all about how do we motivate? How do we help people achieve what they want to achieve, right? And there's such great science in that space. In fact, I have a confession to make. I
Please
have
do.
I have a geeking out moment.
Yeah.
I one of my I'm like a fangirl of Richard Boyatzis, who's a researcher. I don't think he has many fangirls, but he's got one at least.
Right, good.
And he wrote a book, The Science of Change, recently, and I got the book, and I don't know, I think, oh no, I was listening to a podcast, and he was on the podcast, and then I bought the book. And on the podcast, he mentions he's on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, he's on LinkedIn. So I go to LinkedIn and I search him up and I find him. And I send a connection request. I'm like, hi, I've been like your biggest fan for the last 5 years, read all your work. And he actually connected with me. It was so funny. And then I ran outside to tell my kids, I'm like, hey guys. They were like, oh my God, Mom, don't
Yeah.
tell that story to anybody. Some people trip up over, I don't know, some actors and singers, but
Exactly.
yeah.
I think that says a lot about you. I think the community is very lucky to have that enthusiasm,
Yeah.
nurturing these courses.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think it's incredible the work that's been being done in the space of motivation and understanding human psychology. What gets us turned on? What's that intrinsic button to push? And there's some great books out there, but I think the research is so interesting and fascinating when you look at, the experiments that have been done, the social experiments, the qualitative, quantitative research. It's really interesting. So I kind of tried to put that into a course that is practical and applicable and like anybody can just grab it and go, yeah, I get this. And people like the last run of it, I was just so in awe of how much people said they learned and could actually apply right away. And the awareness that was created, like for example, something called emotion contagion, this idea that we are so affected by our relationships. And we don't really talk a lot about that in our foundational courses because we have to, decide on what to focus on and understand that people are just coming into coaching. But it's such a fascinating, space to look at how relationships affect how we decide what we do, where we pay attention, where our attention goes. And so that was part of one module that people were like, oh my goodness. And there's like a great challenge in there and an exercise for them to reflect on. And so there was a lot of awareness created. And I really get excited about bringing like complex ideas and synthesizing them to practical, applicable ways of being. I realized that about myself in the last years, that I think I have a skill there, but I also have a passion for it.
Yes. Yes. I've heard you use the word challenge a few times when describing, components of these courses. Can you tell me more about what's so exciting about what happens in those challenging moments?
Oh, I love it when people like when someone says that was like I didn't like that. I'm like, "Oh, tell me more. I want to know more," because it's it's that person who's just in that struggle. And it's in that discomfort that we get to grow, right? You don't grow without discomfort. Even when you're a toddler growing, you have growing pains, right? Like growth and discomfort go hand in hand. So I get excited when people are uncomfortable because I almost like want to stand up and cheer, like, you're growing.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. And my own discomfort has been, really like I actually did this great exercise. I'm part of a group called Strategic Coach. We meet quarterly in Toronto. It's all entrepreneurs, and we also meet online. And they have these power up calls every week. And so I'm on this call with 70 other entrepreneurs, and the topic of the call was what was it called? Scary something. It was scary times. And I thought, oh, wow. I was actually going into that call feeling a lot of anxiety and
Hmm.
nerves around just the market, just like, the things that are going on that are out of our control as humans, never mind entrepreneurs. And then I thought, oh, wow. So I'm not alone, which is
Yeah.
what community does for you, by the way. You enter a community and go, oh, it's not just me. And I learned that in the reflection we had to do in that workshop, I learned that well, I had to look back on the hardest times that they asked us, to look back at three of the hardest times you've had in the last like years. And I could narrow in on those easily and quickly. And then it was, so what did you do? How did you care for yourself in the situation? What were your strengths? And what I think it was what strengths did you bring and what would you expand on now?
Hmm.
And it was really great reflection. And I was thinking about in the time that I was in at the time when I was in those challenges, it's hard to see through that, right? And I think your question was like, why do I get excited about challenge?
Yeah.
Because I think that it really shows us what we're capable of. Like if you had said to me, this is, if what happened to me in the last 5 years, if you had said to me, this is going to happen to you and, you're going to be fine, I would be like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I can't go through that. Don't do that to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now looking back, I go, oh, that is super interesting. How we are resilient beyond what we know as humans. We are actually so much stronger and capable. And challenge is what brings up, that what we call the potential, the possibilities. So when people are challenged in the courses, that gives me a lot of great satisfaction. It does.
I love that.
Mm.
What a gift to the students too to have somebody who wants to stand up and cheer for them in those moments, right? Say, you're growing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's that resistance that we want to get really curious about. It's so, important to the work of a coach, but it's also like what we resist persists. That's kind of a cliche term, but it actually, if you break it down, it is absolute truth. And so what do you need to be present to those moments is the question. And I mean, I don't think our courses are so challenging that people, I think it's a good challenge, a little taste of challenge, a little like, oh, I didn't look at it that way. It's more perspective shifts than anything, and a little bit of information to back it, that grounded evidence that's so important for the credibility of coaching and the practices and strategies that we apply. So yeah, it's fun. And the exercises are all about experiencing the coaches for ourselves, like the coaching strategies for ourselves. Like throughout the program, we, every week there's an exercise, every week there's a challenge. And I think that's how we bring it home to that whole, the first life to change is yours, right? This statement we love to make about the program because it's so true. When you're doing the work, being coached throughout the program, doing the exercises, you're being changed as you go.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. Uh, I've heard you use the word community, so many times in this
Mm.
conversation, speaking about the community who's going to support you at commencement, the community that's been created at Coach Academy, the community you have at Strategic Coach. Is there anything that you just, feels left unsaid when it comes to what, is important about community to you?
So community, well, before I say that, I just want to mention the grief course because that
Yes. Thank
one
you.
blew my mind. So there was also the grief course that came from from my journey, and that course changed my life and my relationship with grief and my awareness of what grief is and isn't.
Hmm.
And in that course, we've run it, I think, 2 or 3 times now. It's the most heartfelt community built around grief that you could possibly imagine. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Community is something that, man, it came out of nowhere. Like, I always kind of said, oh, there's a community here. In fact, I mean, it was the students in the original days that asked for ways to stay in touch with other students. It was them asking. And one of the things that I've said before on this podcast and in our community that one of the reasons that we've grown so successfully and consistently over time is that we listen to feedback. And one of the feedback was like, how do we stay connected? I took a stab at creating a community like custom made, which was wow, tough. One of those learning experiences you have and look back fondly on, but
Yeah.
are glad it's over. That didn't work so well. It was a lot. A huge learning gap
Mhm.
and resource gap, to be honest. So we found a platform that works so well, and and we're actually we're one of the early adopters, so we actually have the great benefit of helping to develop the platform as we go with the provider. So community is something that we all long for. I mean, it's one of those things that we I think we learn we learn more about ourselves in community, right?
Mhm.
And um, it's just one of the gifts that I don't know that I saw it coming, but I certainly embraced it when I saw it and all the possibilities. And so I'm excited that we have this beautiful platform now where people come together for 15 to 20 workshops a month
Yeah.
where they get to dive in even outside of their programs. They get to go into learning labs, right? Coach clinics, live coaching demos, supervision hours, which are a new thing in coaching, and mentorship. And so, psychology of coaching. We had 20 people in the group yesterday. It was so fun. It was a really great like just meeting of the minds and experiences of some of the people in our community. So we're seeing our membership go up really quick, and I'm really proud of that insurance deal that I was able to negotiate for our members. That's a big piece close to my heart, where that raising the standard of coaching, elevating it to other regulated professions, the ethical and professional obligation of coaches, like that was a really big piece that I feel is such a huge value add, especially at the and we're giving it away. It's a
Yeah.
group liability insurance. Everybody, we're giving it away to our community members.
Yeah.
So that was a big one, and I'm proud of my steadfastness there, because I could have given up a few times. It took a long time to find the right partner in that when it came to insurance companies. So yeah, we are on a mission to be the professional coaching hub of the world, and I believe that we are well positioned and fully capable of doing so. We're going to open our community up to the public in June, and I just can't wait to see what's possible.
Yes. Yes. To see
Yeah.
what's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I really feel like people who come together grow together. And that's the key, right? So, yeah.
Beautiful. So, as we look to the end of this conversation and reflect back on everything you shared, and then even think back to 2019, right? The person you were when you started at Harvard, right?
Yeah.
What stands out to you, overall, or as the biggest lesson that you're taking away from, these years of research and hard work?
Oh, I don't, I think it's, I want to say it's this awareness of discovery. There's no end game
Mm.
until you're really the end, right? So I like to think of it as arriving and, like I feel like, okay, I'm at the end of this degree. And my natural inclination is to go, okay, what next? You have a master's now in psychology. It's from Harvard. Whoa. Now I kind of feel like, oh, well, what else do I want? Now it's about contribution.
Mm.
Like a PhD is certainly within the scope. It's just I really want to find the project that's going to light me up. And um, I do think I have it actually. I've been thinking about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like I marvel at how time passes and what's possible in time. I've been thinking about like how much I've grown in my intellect and also my I mean, like I've always been an introvert. It's hard to tell because I'm a facilitator and I do all these things, but actually I'm an introvert and I've really grown in using that as a skill actually to connect to other people, which
Mm.
is, I know it sounds kind of contrarian, but it's true. And I've come into my own, like I've really settled into, and I'm 51 now. Like it took me a while, but I think it's what it takes though. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm marveling. I think that's all I'm doing right now. It's
Oh,
just going, wow, this has been a journey. And yeah, I've grown a lot.
yeah. Yeah. I love that marveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, and my word for this year, is funny enough, is defiant. Like to be
Really?
defiant in breaking the status quo and challenging, my own limitations and being like, defiantly like explorative, what's the word? Exploring. Like I feel I'm excited by that word because it's not conservative and it's not like your usual, I guess, probably word for a year, but yeah, it came to me somewhat inspired by Taylor Swift, I have to say.
Great.
Yeah.
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 And when you think about that word and, entering, the few months of this year that we've explored, how do you reflect on it so far?
Oh, yeah. The insurance deal, defiant, absolutely. Getting to the master's completion and getting through the prototype and the pitch and all that, defiant for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, and the team, the way we've grown, your little team in the admissions kind of department of Coach Academy and positioning people and really like nurturing the team is, I think, defiantly strategic.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I think it's going well.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, I want to say thank you
Mm,
for all of your hard work that has been poured into the community.
mm.
And I want to close by just saying congratulations on all that you've achieved.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really it's very meaningful, especially in this community. So thank you.